Om Ajnanaatimirandasya Gnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamhayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavansya Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam sajivam sadvaitam savadhutam parijana sahitam Shri Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhan Vitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindho Deenabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostate तप्त कांचना गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभैव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रस्थाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्ता स्वामिन्निति नामिने नमस्ते सरस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्यादेशतारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैता गदाधारा श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंदा हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 रामा राम रामा हरे हरे नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत् शृण्वतां स्वकथा कृष्णा पुण्यश्रवणकीर्तना हृदयन्तस्थो हि भद्राणि विधुनोति सुहत्सतां नष्टप्रायेषु अभद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवते उत्तमाश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्ठिकी। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। Hare Krishna, devotees, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. I'm seeking all of your blessings and prayers to speak something that's beneficial for you and also definitely for myself. And you all have unfortunate time to hear from me twice in 1 week. So yeah, we'll see. And it's, I was just thinking, it's amazing how Krishna works on our things that we don't like to do most often. Somehow Krishna puts us in those situations. I feel like I'm such a planner. I like to know things ahead of time just so I can prepare. I like to know when things are happening. But this is second time in a row where I've come to find just like a day before that I need to, present this verse. So yeah, I was just seeing Krishna's hand in all of this somehow. So today we're reading from, share screens here. From Canto 3, Chapter 8, Text 1. So recite the verse. Maitreya Uvacha Satsevaniyo Bata Puruvamsho Yallokapalo Bhagavat Pradhanaha Babhu Vite Ajita Kirti Malam Pade Pade Nutana Yasya Abhiksham One more time. Maitreya Uvacha Satsevaniyo Bhatta Puruvamsho Yallo Kapalo Bhagavat Pradhanaha Babhuvithehi Haji Kiti Kirtimalam Pade Pade Nutanasya Abhikshanam. Synonyms, word-to-word translation. Maitreya Uvacha, Sri Maitreya Muni said, Sat Sevaniyaha, worthy to serve the pure devotees. Bata, oh certainly, Puru Vamsaha, the descendants of King Puru, yet because Lokapalaha, the kings are, Bhagavat Pradhanaha, chiefly devoted to the personality of Godhead. Babhu Vita, you are also born, Iha, in this, Ajita, the Lord who is unconquerable. Kirti Malam, chain of transcendental activities. Pade Pade, step by step. Nutaness Yasi, becoming newer and newer. Abhikshanam, always. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki jai. The translation, the great sage Maitreya Muni said to Vidura, the royal dynasty of King Puru is worthy to serve the pure devotees because all the descendants of that family are devoted to the personality of Godhead. You are also born in that family. And it is wonderful that because of your attempt, the transcendental pastimes of the Lord are becoming newer and newer at every moment. Purport. The great sage Maitreya thanked Vidura and praised him by reference to his family glories. The Puru dynasty was full of devotees of the personality of Godhead and was therefore glorious, because they were not attached to impersonal Brahman or the localized Paramatma, but were directly attached to Bhagavan, the personality of Godhead. They were worthy to render service to the Lord and his pure devotees. Because Vidura was one of the descendants of that family, naturally he engaged in spreading wide the ever-new glories of the Lord. Maitreya felt happy to have such glorious company as Vidura. He considered the company of Vidura most desirable because such association can accelerate one's dormant propensities for devotional service. So I think it's been a while since we have discussed, we were just discussing the Bhagavatam glories or favorite verses by different devotees. So just to kind of get a little bit of context of where this chapter 8 is at, we had seen that the canto had begun with Vidura being insulted by Dhritarashtra's son and Duryodhana. And because of that, he leaves everything and he goes on a pilgrimage where he meets Uddhava first. And naturally, when seeing him, he inquires about the Lord's whereabouts, how is the Lord doing? And Uddhava in first few, I think like 3 chapters, he describes about Lord's pastimes in Vrindavan, Lord's pastimes outside of Vrindavan. And then Maitreya reaches Uddhava to give him the transcendental knowledge. But knowing that Uddhava was much younger and keeping the etiquette, he asks him to go see Maitreya Muni. So Vidura approaches Maitreya Muni and he starts to inquire. So in chapter 5, Vidura starts to ask a lot of questions about the creation, what makes people happy, how can people get happiness? That's what everybody's looking for, the creation. And Leela Avataras, just he asks a lot of questions So Maitreya Muni answers those, and then Vidura continues in chapter 7 to ask further. He continues to make these further inquiries about to know more about the Supreme Lord, about, he asks about his vibhutis of the Supreme Lord, how are the different planets and their situations and their measurements, like, a lot of detailed questions. And then at the end, he also says how he's confident that how Maitreya Muni can give him all this knowledge, because he says that knowledge is not possible to achieve or to learn without having a guru. So he tells him the last few verses of the chapter 7 that I've asked all these questions in context and the pastimes of Lord Hari, so kindly describe them to me. It is the greatest welfare activity, so your answers will, give people some solace, some immunity in this material, from the material miseries. This is the greatest charity one can give. And Maitreya Muni, he feels very enlivened. He feels very enlivened by all the questions that Vidura had asked, and he had patiently heard all his questions. So while he is feeling this fresh, like this excitement, he is thinking that, even though I know these pastimes are feeling newer and newer, and then he starts to think, why am I feeling this way? So all of a sudden he looks at Vidura and he realizes that it is because of Vidura's association. Vidura is coming from this great dynasty of Puru. So he was, because all the is in purport, Prabhupada describes that, there's such a glorious dynasty where there were so many devotees who were devotees of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and they were not attached to like a Brahman or Paramatma, but they were directly worshipping the Bhagavan features of the Lord. So they're worthy to render service to the Lord and his pure devotees. So Vidura, being the descendant of that family, naturally he was, his association was helping Maitreya feel this feeling enlivened. So I was trying to see, I don't remember like a full, dynasty of the Purus. I was just trying to find something online, and let me see. That's not what I wanted to do. Where is? Prabhu, how do I move this bar down? Because I'm trying to get to the next slide, but
So
this thing is in the way.
I don't see. I see only your browser.
Yeah, I'm trying to get to the next tab, but the bar for the Zoom is on top of it.
So there is arrow mark is there. Do you click on that? I mean, do you see anything? Arrow mark or dots?
Usually can.
Because I don't see that.
You can just drag it down, Mataji.
Yeah,
I
okay.
know, I'm trying. It's not dragging. So let me try. Let me start sharing it again. See if that helps. No. Okay.
Like you stop the screen share, go to the tab that you want, and then do the screen share.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
That's a good idea. Thank you. Okay, hold on. Oops, I lost all my stuff. No, there it is. Okay. All right, let's see if that works. Yeah, it's kind of small, but let me see if, yeah. So basically, Puru dynasty, it starts with King Yayati, and it branches out into two, the Yadu dynasty and the Puru, which starts the Puru Vamsha. And then after it's, many generations, 14 generation, there is this king, Dushyanta, and then with the Shakuntala, King Bharata is there, and with, from whom the whole Bharatvarsha was named. So they were such a great king. And then we, come down with the many generations. Then it goes from Puru to Kuru dynasty, because that's where, that's how we know the Pandavas and Kauravas, all Kuru dynasty. And then we can see how in the going further, we get to King Shantanu, and then to Vichitravirya, and then that's when we have the Dhritarashtra, Pandu, and Vidura. So we can see how the lineage is there for the Purus. So it's the same one. So so that's just their dynasty tree, that he's coming from such a great lineage. And then the last word, last sentence, how Prabhupada is mentioning, was thinking about how he considered the company of Vidura most desirable, because such association can accelerate one's dormant propensity for devotional service. So as we know that we all have this dormant propensity lying in like a seed form in our heart, but it is usually matter of awakening it. And I was just connecting that with the Nectar of Devotion in chapter 2. Prabhupada, talks about that, how this dormant propensity can be awakened. So I'm just going to read this one paragraph. So it says practice. So devotional service is, something that we have to practice. And this practice is usually employing our senses in some particular type of work. Therefore, devotional service and practice means utilizing our different sensory organs in service to Krishna. Some of the senses are meant for acquiring knowledge, and some are meant for executing the conclusions of our thinking, feeling, and willing. So, practice means employing both the mind and senses in practical devotional service. And because earlier it describes the definition of sadhana bhakti, where not just our senses, but our mind is also engaged in performing our sadhana bhakti. So this practice is not for developing something artificial. For example, a child learns or practices to walk. This walking is not unnatural. The walking capacity is there originally in the child, and simply by a little practice, he walks very nicely. Similarly, devotional service to the Supreme Lord is the natural instinct of every living entity. Even uncivilized men, like the aborigines, offer the respectful obeisances to something wonderful exhibited by nature's law. And they appreciate that behind some wonderful exhibition or action, there is something supreme. So this consciousness, though lying dormant in those who are materially contaminated, is found in every living entity. And when purified, this is called Krishna consciousness. So this, dormant propensity that we have by practicing, practice, that's a word I was really kind of catching hold of from this one. Practicing diligently the sadhana bhakti, it will help us get purified, and then the seed that is lying dormant can be awakened. And then also, another way or another important teaching that Prabhupada has given us, or Shastras have given us, is to awaken this dormant propensity, not only doing sadhana bhakti, but also approaching a bona fide spiritual master. That is what's needed. So I was also connecting with the verse from Bhagavad Gita that once we approach bona fide spiritual master, what is it that we have to do? So in this Bhagavad Gita 4.34, it tells us that we have to ask, we have to inquire, make inquiries about the transcendental knowledge to learn about the absolute truth by approaching a spiritual master. And then we inquire in the submissive mood. We also render service unto the bona fide spiritual master. And the self-realized soul then can impart knowledge unto you because they have seen the truth. So we can see this happening actually quite nicely between Maitreya and Vidura. So Maitreya Muni is being approached by Vidura with all these inquiries that he's asking, such a detailed inquiries. And there is a qualification, we hear in this, the qualification for the speaker, and here is both there. So Maitreya Muni is, has all these qualities of ideal hearer, that he is, he's being faithful to the knowledge. He's putting a lot of faith in the Maitreya Muni. He's asking purposeful questions where he is asking about the Lord Hari. He's asking about Krishna. He's trying to ask questions where not only he himself is going to benefit, but it's beneficial for everybody, not just in that moment, but for eternity. He is eager. There is a quality of eagerness to hear. He's very focused. He's asking questions that are very focused. He glorifies the process. He glorifies the teacher. So there's so many qualities of this ideal hearer that we see. He's grateful. He's attentive. He's absorbed. And, similarly, Maitreya Muni is also the ideal speaker, where he, he's very learned. He has heard this knowledge directly from Krishna when he was speaking to Uddhava. He's very honest, where he's saying that, I will describe, or I will speak what I've heard and assimilated from hearing, which means, he's not going to distort the knowledge. He's going to give it as it is. He's very appreciative also of his students, of his inquiries, and he's feeling enlivened with his association. He's very authoritative. He's speaking direct from the Shastra, nothing that he has, concocted. He's citing the authorities. So, this quality, it requires both the speaker and the hearer. They have to have these qualities to receive this knowledge in this disciplic succession, because we'll see, and he's going to next talk about how he heard it and how this knowledge has to be received in disciplic succession. So, I was also thinking of like another example of such an event that had happened between the sages of Naimisharanya and Sutta Goswami. It also in Canto 1, we hear about these qualities that Sutta Goswami had and sages of Naimisharanya had. So, our Bhagavatam is full of these great examples for us to hear and to follow. So yeah, we're just have to kind of learn from them by their example, to hear these transcendental vibration, these transcendental knowledge from Srimad Bhagavatam carefully and attentively. So that's all I've so far prepared, devotees, and it's 7:55. I do have to stop at 8 o'clock sharp. So we'll leave 5 minutes for any comments, questions, discussions, addition, correction, anything if you like to share. We'll open it up for that now. Hare Krishna.
Just a quick comment. Thank you for the wonderful class. And in this verse, it's like describing that how the descendants of King Puru were all devotees, and that's why their lives and their genealogies are being described. And that's actually the case in general in the Bhagavatam, where the dynasties where great devotees take birth, like Dhruva Maharaj and others, those are described, but then because like there'll be a family tree, but then the dynasties or the directions in which there's no devotees or notable devotees, those will be skipped. And because someone may wonder, why so many families and dynasties and things are described in the Srimad Bhagavatam, when this book has nothing to do with material, material family life and material, dynasties. But it does so because it's only describing the lives and families and dynasties of devotees. So that's
Yeah, thank you, Prabhu. Very
Thank
nice.
you.
Thank you. Okay. Yeah, so if nothing else is there, Prabhu, we can conclude here for today. Panchakalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhaya vacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Anantakoti Vaishnavrinda ki jai, Srimad Bhagavatam Mahapurana ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna.